What's up, everybody? This is Giuseppe, your host, co-host Ryan over here, to a wonderful and beautiful episode 17, in which our light fixture is not falling. If you saw that, you didn't see shit. Keep moving, pal. Yeah, that's right. Keep moving. Keep it rolling, all right? Anyways, we have a lot to talk about this episode, a lot that we're stoked on. What have you been up to, dude?
I went rock climbing, and now I'm getting into rock climbing, so that's fun. But that's about it. That and playing Warcraft. Those two things have consumed my life.
Now, we have a very special birthday coming up. I want everybody to leave down in the comments a happy birthday for Ryan. His birthday is Friday. Let's give a round of applause here. Woo! He's officially 28.
It's actually the day after this episode comes out.
No kidding.
Yeah, so you can get in early.
Get in early. We're going to link his Amazon wish list, Patreon, everything below. If only we had an Amazon wish list.
Yeah.
So, rock climbing. Like, are you literally climbing like a rock outside, or are you like...
No.
Okay.
Rock climbing gym.
Okay.
It's got like the straight climbs that you can just go straight up to the top. But what I'm getting interested in is bouldering. It's like the puzzle one. You know, it's climbing without a rope, but you don't climb very high. You only climb a certain distance.
Okay.
But it's, you know, the walls that go like up and then that, so you'd be like hanging upside down pretty much. It's like those ones.
Okay. Now, did you feel like you had like this innate ability to climb rocks? Like, were you good at it from the get-go? Something you felt comfortable with, or was it a little challenging?
I mean, I went rock climbing once when I was a kid. Don't really remember it. And when we used to go hiking with Jeff a lot, we would climb rocks.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was pretty okay at it.
What I'm asking is, were you the star of the show? Like, were people looking at you in admiration, like, look at this fucking boy climb a rock?
I think we all did pretty equal. Like, the people I was with, the people who were there, very obviously were much better.
Right.
They knew what they were doing. They were hanging upside down and stuff, but I just don't have the core strength or grip strength to do a lot of the things. But bouldering is leveled from V0 to V9 in difficulty, and I think we all kind of collectively got up to about V3. So
okay,
it wasn't too bad. I tried the V9, but I was so sore by that point that I was laying on my back, and I was just trying to get up off the floor after having failed. And I couldn't pull my body up from the little rock thing. I had to like roll over like a bug and push myself up off the ground because I was sore.
Now, rumor has it you have to juice to reach V8.
Like the juice?
Yeah.
Isn't it V6?
It's not V8?
No, it's V8. You're
right.
I was like, should have had a V6 sounds right, but I think it's V8.
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, that went really far. That was a good one. Yeah. So, how many people are usually at a spot like this, like climbing? Is it pretty small, or like?
Not including the 5 of us that were there. Probably like 12.
Okay, so yeah, not too crazy, but
there's 2 people upstairs in the gym working out, and then there was a group of like 6 or 7 taking a class, and then there was just some random climbers.
Okay.
But it's pretty cool. It was a cool place.
Like, I feel like there is probably 2 types of people that go to these places, right? There's somebody that is, we'll call him the casual climber. They go, you know, it's like somebody's, you know, bachelor party, and they go and they climb a little bit, and they're like, whoa, this is fun, you know? And they might not ever go again, or maybe they get the idea when their party comes up, but then there's, like, the avid climber. Like, I think there's probably that person with, like, those Vibram, like, toe shoes that cut out each toe. They have, like, a bag of granola sticking out of their back pocket, and they live to climb.
Yeah. I was actually looking at climbing shoes.
Is there a specific, like, it wouldn't just be a hiking shoe? There's one made specifically for climbing.
Yeah, they're climbing shoes. They give them to you there.
Wait, what do they look like?
You can't climb with your regular shoes.
Do they look like normal shoes? Or?
They're pretty much just form fit.
Okay.
So it's like it is your foot.
Yeah.
But they have a harder rubber bottom that's just flat.
Yeah.
It has no like texture or anything, so you can really just kind of dig your toes in there.
Is it like there traction on it though to help you from slipping?
I mean,
or?
like it's rubber. It's
Yeah.
not like a slippery material, so
okay.
it does kind of like hold, but you will slip from time to time.
Yeah.
And then, more realistically, you'll have the guys in there. They're an avid climber if they got that bag of chalk hooked to the back of their harness.
Yeah.
They're just like mid-climb, reaching into the back, getting some chalk and putting it on. I was just walking around to the really chalked up pieces and like rubbing my hands on it to get the chalk.
Yeah.
Clap a little bit.
You felt like a part of the in crowd, You're like, yeah.
The second wall I was climbing, I was almost to the top, and my hand slipped off of one of the things because I was sweating.
Oh, yeah.
So the chalk is necessary.
Right.
Because you can't grip those things if you have any moisture on your fingers.
Unless you just have that gorilla grip.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way. But, I feel like this is probably dangerous, but I just thought of a fun drinking game where every time you don't complete the climb to the top, you have to take a shot. So you just progressively get more drunk trying to reach the
that'd
top.
Be dangerous.
If you're like in a harness, though, I feel like that could be kind of.
It could still be dangerous because if you don't jump off right, like if you fly around or something,
you
or
might
if you're
smack
not
into
hooked in
it
correctly or anything. Yeah, you can hit your head. You can hit another climber if there's other people climbing simultaneously, which a bunch of drunk people in a climbing gym. I guarantee you're going to be head-to-head racing right next to each other.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to slip off the rope's gonna like go over and hit. It's probably just dangerous.
Yeah.
We could probably do it and nothing would happen, but I don't think we could ever find a climbing gym that would let you even show up drunk.
Yeah, I mean, well, you have like some, I don't know, V8 juice bottle, for example, and you just fill that little bad boy up with a Bloody Mary and just have at it,
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't want to drink and climb.
It would probably you probably feel sick too,
Yeah.
Like
I'm already. I don't know. It would probably give me more courage, but that might just make me do stupider things.
Right.
Because I had to like go incrementally. Like
Yeah.
I would get up. There was the easiest wall there called the Rainbow Wall,
Okay.
and like it had 5 or 6 colors on it, just in bulks, and it was
Yeah.
just a bunch of them. So it was the easy one. You could definitely climb up it. But I would get to like the second color, and then I'd be like, "Whew, okay, let's get down."
Yeah.
And then I'd sit down there for a little bit, and I kept going up until I got to the top. And just one color away from the top, I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty high up, and you don't feel the harness, so it feels like you're on the wall, and you could fall at any moment. And it's a really weird thing being at the top and telling your brain to let go of the fucking wall. I kicked off, and I just death gripped on the things. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it came back and smacked
Are you
into
supposed
the
to
wall.
just jump off?
Yeah, you just kick back, and then you just kind of bounce down the wall.
Oh, okay.
Because once your weight hits that harness, there's like a split second where it feels like you're falling, and then that shit just tears into your nuts. I have a...
You said there's no harness, though, right?
No, there's a harness on the tall walls.
Oh,
Bouldering,
okay.
they don't go up high. You're like 15 feet off the floor.
That could still hurt, though. I mean,
Oh, yeah, but there's pads. You fall
Oh.
back. So what you do when you're at the top of those ones is you just kick off and fall back. You hit the pad and then fall on your back. So you're not,
okay.
impacting your knees.
Oh, okay.
You got to, fall and then roll back. You like the
Okay, so there's a
parkour
pad
videos.
pretty close to you.
Yeah, you
like
can
you're not
move-
going straight
You
down.
can move the pad. You're supposed to have a spotter there to move the pad if you start going angular.
Okay.
And they're supposed to keep their hands up in case you fall to guide you onto the
Yeah.
pad. But we didn't. I mean, there was people around when we were bouldering together, but we weren't spotting each other.
Yeah.
We were pretty confident that, we had like 3 pads set up. There's no way I can hit the floor.
Right.
And the floor is also soft, but you can still break an ankle and stuff like that. So,
Right, if you just hit it wrong, yeah.
yeah, it's good to be careful, but there was people in there bouldering without a spotter and no mat under them. They were just climbing.
Like, they're probably
Yeah.
veterans
Yeah.
of sorts, They're
That
just
guy-
like,
Definitely was. He was double sleeved up, like inch plugs, had his hair shaved on the sides, top knot just right on top.
yeah.
Dude looked like a climber.
Yeah.
The dude that trained us too looked exactly like a climber. Everybody who climbs is just like fully tatted. At least at this place.
Yeah.
I've only been to the one place, and I'm gonna go to another one. But
Yeah. I feel like climbing is kind of that bridge. Like, like the odds go up that you're doing other kind of granola things. Like there's a fraction
Granola things.
You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
chance you also do hot yoga. There's a chance you're also vegan.
They
Like
they offer that at that gym. If you have a membership, you can do unlimited yoga. They have yoga classes.
Hot
and their
yoga?
Stuff. No, I think it's just regular
okay.
yoga.
You know what hot yoga is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
There's a
it's intense.
Yahoga. There's
Yahoga?
a Yahoga place right around the corner from here.
Yahoga.
Yeah. But it's I kept making the joke later that night afterwards, and I was, because all of us that went want to get into climbing now. I've been
Yeah.
wanting to for a while, and I just dropped it randomly when they were trying to think of things to do for this birthday weekend. I was like, we should go rock climbing. Everybody was down, and after going, like in the car ride home, everybody was looking at the ones closer to us and looking up reviews. Me
Yeah.
and Jimmy were looking at climbing shoes, and we're like, this could be something we do regularly.
Yeah.
You know, like it was so much fun, and it was a
Right.
workout. You know,
Yeah.
you get your exercise in, and it's mentally stimulating. Because I get bored of just regular workouts. That's why I
Yeah.
can never stay consistent with it. But just go climb a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a super cool time. But I kept making the joke that, like, watch, 5 years from now, we're all going to be, like, moving to California, drinking kombucha. They got the circle-colored, like, you know, circle rose-tinted sunglasses.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna be different people.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing yoga
It's
together.
transformative. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just joking about that, but I thought it was funny. That is definitely, like, the kind of person, you know?
Yeah. There's like the climber archetype, you know?
Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's an okay thing for me to hyperfixate on right now, because if I get into it and I do it regularly, at least I'm getting some exercise, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like the whole thing with bouldering is it's puzzles, you know? It's like it's just a wall of a bunch of random assorted colors of things, and the colors designate what difficulty it is.
Yeah.
So you can follow that route. You know, it's not just like, oh, find your way up the wall. You have to specifically use these colors. So if you're
Okay.
sitting on the blacks and there's like another black one, but you're like, how am I supposed to reach that? But you see it's a clear continuation of the path you're taking. There's plenty of other options you can pick, but you're specifically going that route. You know, it's like the difficulty puzzle based. It's mentally stimulating while you're getting a workout.
It's interesting, you know, and it's almost similar to being like a calisthenics athlete, but almost like a step up with like as far as like grip strength and everything. Like you have to be as strong as possible, but as small as possible too.
Yeah.
Like you definitely don't want to be
You don't
a
want to
hefty,
be huge.
hulky person with weight. You want to weigh as little as possible, but be like an ant.
Yeah.
Be small yet just absurdly strong in order to be like super proficient at climbing, you know?
I mean, you know, some of these climbing guys, they wear a long sleeve shirt. They don't look much bigger than I do,
Yeah.
but they can do pull-ups with one finger.
Woo! You saw that?
No,
Oh.
not there. But they have the stuff to train for that. It's like
Yeah.
a big board that they hang on the pull-up pole.
Yeah.
And it's got a bunch of different slots, so you can do like two, and then your pinky, so you keep one finger out. And like I could do one pull-up like this,
Yeah.
but there's ones for just a finger hole, and then they have different like depths. So there's ones that literally like just the tip of your finger fits in.
That's so
and people
intense.
will just hang there on the tip of one finger.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
I'm going to show you something, but don't say a word,
Okay.
and you'll understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Makes sense. But yeah, if we we'll probably go a little later because we're planning like 5:36.
right.
Probably take a while to get like everybody there, so probably about
Yeah.
6:30, 7 o'clock. You should come climb.
Yeah, it would be great.
Climb on Wednesday. I'd love to. I mean, if we can find somewhere close, I would love to try to get to the point where I go once a week, but that'll probably won't happen.
You know, we could start something called like a night, call it Chips and Grips, where we do climbing and then hit the casino after. I feel like that'd be a pretty good night.
Chips and grips.
Yeah.
There's like one night out of the month.
Yeah. Do a little climb, get burnt out, and be like, yeah, let's go relax, sit at a table, you know?
Yeah. That'd be pretty fun. I'd like to see if anybody else would want to do that just as like a thing to do. You know, you don't
Yeah.
even have to gamble at the casino if you don't want to. Let's just
Yeah.
go. If you feel like throwing some money down, okay, but We could just go sit up top side on the edge bar, maybe watch some sports games or something.
Yeah.
Just get out and like have like a collective thing we can do.
Yeah.
We'll start making flyers for it.
Come on, what the hell is chips and grips?
You heard of this? We could. I mean, we could get people, just like invite your friends.
Yeah.
Just show up, and then it's just like that night of the month. You show up to the casino. You don't have to call people. You don't have to do anything. But there's a group of guys there that you're like, you might see some of the people
Yeah.
Like I told you, like, you should come to Chips and Grips.
Yeah.
We're going to go climbing, and then blah, blah, blah. I think it'd be cool. Let's try to
Yeah.
run it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fun.
Do a little event.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun.
Chips and grips.
I like that idea.
I feel like this could turn into like a mob thing before you know it. Just so many extensions of friends and family. There's like 100 people once a
We got
month.
the private back room at
Yeah.
the casino. I'm just holding one finger. I'm like, you come to me on the day of Chips and Grips.
You're hanging there throwing chips on the table. you put a chip on black with just your feet. Just little toe shoes with chips between each toe. Smack it on the table.
I like this idea.
Yeah, this is gonna be something. This is the start of something great.
Yeah. I'd love to do it.
But so we had a something I was inspired to kind of throw in as a topic in this episode, but you end up on that rabbit hole of YouTube and you land on one of those videos you normally wouldn't look up, but I remember it was in the recommended on the sidebar, and it was one of Seth MacFarlane, the creator and kind of voices for many characters in Family Guy, and then he did Ted and a few other things, but he talked about kind of his story and starting up, but he made a really interesting quote. And, this isn't verbatim, but basically in the quote, he said that animation is the ultimate art form. That piqued my interest, of course. I'm like, and he explains it, and it really is when you think about it, because it's all encompassing. It takes music, it takes writing, it takes visual art, and then it takes performance art, which is voice acting, and everything has to be so curated and well thought out to make this masterpiece almost, where it's like all these collective creatives come together and make this one project that they contributed to that they couldn't have done on their own. Perhaps, some people have, but, more often than not, it's a group of like-minded individuals that come together and like, hey, we could really make something cool. So, I kind of wanted to talk about like what you find to be something that is just an all-encompassing like masterpiece, like the ultimate art form, something that just stimulated you visually, the story, the music, and just even the performance and the voices. Like,
I mean, there's a lot of things, but I think I do lean to the how to say, more cinematic.
Yeah.
Like, music wise especially, like if you take a song that sounds like something I could hear on the radio and put it in something, it might fit the vibe. Like putting what's that song, Something in the Way, in the Batman.
Yeah,
like it worked for the scene, but I wouldn't say that was like, I would have preferred like an orchestrated,
right,
additive thing, not something familiar that I know. That's why I like things like Attack on Titan, Mushishi, all those shows that have those things. And I know, you wanted to talk about Serial Experiments Lane.
Yeah.
Which I agree, it's like it's a compilation of all these things. And especially when you get into the digital sense of things, like it's philosophic art, it's digital art. It's all of these different genres of art being stuffed together in the same box, but I don't think it would be something that I would speak on as much. I mean, if you want to, come back and just shed your defense on this.
No, absolutely.
Not defense, that's the wrong
I know what you're
word.
saying, but my take on it,
It's just putting in like the intro song of Serial Experiments Lane. While I think it's really good and it fits for what it is and stuff, it's just not something I would lean to, because I go more in that like orchestra, cinematic, very epic, like they're telling an epic,
Yeah, and I think that's a matter of preference and taste too, but I do agree with you actually wholeheartedly. I think we don't see orchestrative music as much these days. There are contemporary artists and musicians, but you don't see as much of it. And this is a whole nother kind of rabbit hole, but I like to think of, and I might get flamed for this, but hear me out, is like electronic artists and EDM artists kind of being the modern day composer, because they're taking rhythmic instruments, they're taking melodic instruments, they're taking vocals, and they're pointing the stick, right? Except they're just doing it all themselves. But they're taking samples, so they don't create all of that music, but they compile different sounds and orchestrations to create a whole piece, but kind of climbing out of that hole a bit. I think, orchestrative music has definitely found its way into anime. You see it in a lot of different instances, and even a really cool example is you'll see bands that start out just as like a 3-4 piece band, but as they become more popular and they expand upon their work, they'll do kind of reimagine versions of their songs that are orchestrative. The good example being Ling Tosite Cigar, that did the intro for Psycho Pass and Tokyo Ghoul. They're a 3-piece. It's a vocalist, guitar player. There's a bassist with backing vocals and a drummer. But I remember watching a video of them live in studio where they had a cello player, a violinist, a pianist.
Yeah.
And it was it's so full of sound. And you're totally right. It creates a feeling that sometimes, like, more simpler, I guess band music doesn't really put together.
Yeah.
But
I feel like it's just that openness you can have with music specifically, just in that style. But it does make sense that, like, it's a lot easier for 3 people to get together and be like, all right, let's write these things.
Yeah.
And then as they have some, like, value behind what they've done and their direction and stuff, you can get a team of people, you can get 3 people to play one note each on the flute.
Yeah.
So that you have a nice harmony backing to fill this space, that's a live rendition of it. But I mean, it's an interesting point that, like, EDM artists and producers and stuff are kind of the modern day composers, but it's just another job that robots are taking from humans. We no longer have a concerto, or what do they call them, like a group of instruments in an orchestra. It's like those people are unnecessary now because we have VSTs that sound just as good.
Well, and the thing is, they would just do as they're told, and there's the maestro behind all of it that sees all of these instruments, hears a song in his head, and makes them play it. Yeah. And perhaps he doesn't even play these instruments.
What's crazy to me is, like, back in the day, these composers did this just on theory. Like, they knew music theory so much that they could piece all of these instruments together and make them function. Me, and 90% of other people that make music now, I'm sure, you can test it. You can get on, you can say, I have this idea, and you can work it out, start to flesh it out. These people can't. They have to sit in their room and play a little violin and imagine how it would sound with 10 of them playing. They didn't have something they could record on and then play it back and then do the harmony. They understood the theory that, like, and then this comes in, and then this comes in, and they get a large group of people together and
Yeah.
direct them to do what they need them to do. That's insane to me.
It was a combination of artistry, mathematics. It was something that really took a very particular individual to create.
Yeah.
It is simply something not just anyone could do, where it's like, if you really want to be a maestro, you can. No. I think it takes an innate musical and mathematical knowledge in order to create that,
And not a lot of people come at music from a math perspective.
Yeah.
Of, like, how is this going to function? Time signatures, keys, all of these things that go into it. Like, a lot of people who do music just do so by feeling. They're creative. Right. They're not analytic.
Right, yeah.
Which is kind of like the catch to music, is like it's something very analytic on the top end of it, working down. But at the bottom end, most of the people that are drawn to something like that, it is a very, like, expressional medium. But it's created by the analytic mind.
It's not thought out, it's felt out.
Yeah.
Normally, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never really thought about it like that, but that is very interesting because usually with mathematic people and analysts and stuff, they're not very feeling based, creative based, but to have that place in music, I think.
Well, and that's the
cool.
delicate balance, because we'll often hear that things that are too perfect, too thought out, as far as if they're just looking at music theory, it's cold, heartless, boring, robotic, mechanical. You hear a lot of those terms thrown out. So they have to have that sense of feeling too. It's not one or the other. They have to have both and be able to create this balancing act between the two in order for it to be something that's like masterful like that, where you feel it and you can understand it.
Yeah.
But kind of going back to like for Serial, and so redundant because I always talk about it, but it's just because it's such a great point of reference for so many things. It really is, to me, a masterpiece. But I think what they took is they created this aestheticism and this universe that all tied in together, and it couldn't perform the way it did without its tiny moving parts. And I think the music that Bo contributed to that really evoked the feeling of exactly what they wanted to portray with the artwork, the animation, the written story. And I think it also couldn't have been done in any other time than it was done. Like, I think they could redo Lane. That's one, and it's a shame to say, but I think if it was attempted to be redone, it wouldn't hit the same, just because it had to take place in that era, in that style of artwork, in order to be understood the way it was.
If it was any different, it wouldn't be the same.
But and I think a testament to any great masterpiece, as far as that's all encompassing in all art forms, is that you could take each separate component, kind of like what you were saying with Batman, and how something in the way, it's like, yeah, it made sense there, but like you might not listen to that on your own, and maybe it didn't push the envelope as well if something orchestrative could have. But being able to disassimilate an animation and be able to enjoy the music by itself, be able to frame or hang up the artwork and appreciate that, and it's still formed, to be able to read the light novel and enjoy the story as written without needing visual and audio cues, or being able to listen to the voice actors, their performance arm, being able to be moved just by the way that Shinji screams in that one part,
Or
it's
Ekigna's speech in ReZero.
Yeah,
I really like that one.
And to think of how powerful all of those parts are, if you take one out of the equation, it's ruined. If he's doing that speech and he comes in, I think that, it's just like, it would be garbage, Yeah. What's so difficult, I think, is finding everything that fits. Because you could have great artwork, great music, great writing, performance, etc., but if they don't mesh, it doesn't come across right. Like, you could take the most delicious foods in the world, you could take the best gelato maker, and he creates gelato, and you take the best, escargot dish, but if you put them together, it's going to taste like shit because they don't go together. So being able to make sure it's not a circle into a square peg, that all the pieces fit, but they're still interesting. I'd love to talk to some of those people in the creative process, because at an animation studio, there's a director that has to source and take into consideration all of the facets. They're reading over the story, they're picking the voice actors, they're picking which artists they work with for the music, and then their department, they're like, you need to draw this a certain way. There has to be one singular person, kind of the head honcho behind the helm of all of that. They don't really get the credit all the time, to think that there's somebody that kind of curated all of that to make that possible,
Yeah, I think they get a decent amount of credit. For a long time, I feel like directors were the sole credited people.
Right.
And it was because it was very vision based. It was like they gave credit to the person who had the vision, you know?
Right.
But then you had like teams of writers, teams of people who were working on sound design, people who were working on music, people who were working on the animation. You know, you had all these people who were kind of overlooked and lumped into the fact that it was like, this director is great. But it's like a team of people. I think we just kind of shifted back to the other side of, you know, giving praise to all the creators and stuff, but I don't know. Because I don't really see people praise any one group of people now. You know, they've kind of just like went from praising directors for things to praising studios. It's like A24.
Yeah.
Like A20, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Like the really artsy, the everything everywhere all at once that just came out. Like A24 is a studio that people know for these like artsy, obscure movies that are kind of weird and strange. I'm sure some people know the directors and stuff, but I don't know. I just remember being a kid and it was always like, this guy directed this guy directed that, and now you still have like Scorsese and Peter Jackson and stuff like that, but you don't hear about it as much. You're seeing more like just encompassment of the whole studio.
Right, and not to say that there should be more credit delegated to one person over a group or vice versa, but you think of, just to see how powerful the directing role is, I think one of the best examples, you know, in modern times is everyone's familiar with the term Snyder Cut. When you think of the Justice League film, where it's like one guy taken out of the equation of direction, and it's sought to be an entirely different film. You know, I find that fascinating, where it's like just one person in the keg is like able to influence it that much, or people are like, oh, this isn't that great, to, you know, watching his original vision and the Snyder's Cut being like, whoa, masterpiece, you know?
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me.
Yeah, it is a lot. I think it's just more so the added dialogue and what happens in the movie, because I feel like a lot of larger scale operations focused on like profitability and this and that, whatever, will focus on like making it as easily digestible for the largest amount of people. And that's what, you know, certain branches of studio or whatever media form work do, is let's try to make this as relatable for as many people as possible. If you make it too, you know, thinky or too long or too this or too that, whatever they found in their study groups, or case studies and all this shit, and then somebody is just like, no, this is the vision for the movie. I don't care how long it is. I don't care how much dialogue it is. I don't care what anybody thinks about it. This is what the movie was supposed to be. Before they said, well, I mean, yeah, you know, a lot of people are going to like it, but more people will go see it if it's simpler.
Right.
And that's what gets them there. But it is interesting, the Snyder Cut thing, because I don't think I've ever really seen a Snyder Cut movie, but from what I understand, it's like all those times where in movies you're like, I feel like I missed a part.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like there's something that I should have felt more at this part, but I wasn't given the opportunity to feel.
Yeah, imagine if Lord of the Rings was an hour and 10-minute film.
Yeah. It wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
It would not be a good movie.
Yeah.
Because there's just too many things that you have to like go through and explain. It's Lord of the Rings is a 14-hour story.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, those movies are so long. It's like,
have you seen the books?
Yeah.
You know?
Have you seen the books? And it's, you know, like video games. It's, you know, the game is a long playthrough. There's a lot of story there. That's why they can expand on so many concepts and shit like that. I feel like people are just so, let's just make something easy to watch. And it's not really going to be a profound movie, you know? It's not going to be groundbreaking. It's not going to do anything crazy and cool. It's just, yeah, you know, it might be a good movie, but it's not going to make you think. It's not going to make you walk out of there and be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Like, yeah, it was a good movie.
You know, and
it's profit.
It kind of, it makes me think too, and we see this oftentimes in, like, we'll just say, you know, band music. And when I say band, I strictly mean like guitar, bass, drums, keys, vocalist, right?
Yeah.
That, not that any member is necessarily interchangeable, but I feel like the most notable is the vocalist. And they're the outlier of the group, because you could change out a guitarist, and it will certainly change the sound, but the most noticeable to the common listener will be if there's a different vocalist, and it will change the trajectory of the songs they create. And I always compared it to this kind of breakdown of, it's like a piece of artwork where, guitars, for example, would be the coloring, bass would be the shading, drums would be just like the outline, the rough kind of holding everything together, keys are kind of the detail, the fine tune, but the vocalist, as significant and insignificant as they are, is kind of the artist's signature at the bottom. And if you change that out, you lose that signature. It's a different, composition. But I think of an outlier like Miyazaki is kind of a great example where he does the storyboarding and the artwork. He writes and creates it. And he does have, at this point in his, career, artists that work under him and do, redraws or kind of do the in-betweens for the movements. But overall, he's creating it. And if you were to take...
For actually quite a long time, he's not on the animation team. He writes the story, he does like the artwork for the example. But this is what it's supposed to look like, and then he does watercolor storyboarding.
Well,
but
that's what I'm getting at. Just the storyboarding, but he does it old school still, where you you flip the pages and something's happening. Where someone actually he doesn't animate
his animation team does that too. But they're just the ones who he brings them the picture and then they make it
exactly
the movie.
But the point being, if he was no longer a part of Ghibli, whatever, and someone else came in and took over, it couldn't be the same thing. There could be someone heavily inspired by him and it could be in likeness of, but you would notice. It couldn't just be unnoticed where if he just left and someone else came in, you'd be like, oh yeah, he's still doing it. It would be obvious.
Yeah. To the perceptive fan.
Yeah.
Yes. But there's I think the model can definitely be followed to this point. Just an example of I watched maybe it's a Studio Ghibli movie, I don't fucking know, but A Child of Kamiyari Month. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
It a couple days ago. It's about a little girl who's her mom and her run together, and then her mom dies, and she's like a god of foot race or something.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting movie, but it's just very Ghibli-esque is a world set now.
Oh yeah.
It's they know the model and they know how to do it, but if you really pay attention to the details and stuff, you can probably notice the difference in the lack of Miyazaki's personality in the characters and how the movie progresses and all of these things. But it's getting harder to differentiate, because there's that movie. I don't think it's Studio Ghibli at all.
Right, but
while watching it, I was like, there are similarities. I see where this is coming from.
But to say then how outstanding of a figure if he had never existed in this plane of existence, do you think titles like Your Name would exist? And if they did, would they be the same? If he was just never an influence and his art was never there? It makes you wonder.
I mean, maybe. It could, because I don't know. I don't think he was the only one making quality content.
Not quality, but I'm saying, like you said, the Ghibli-esque, that style. You know what I mean?
I think it probably would have still been done, especially since, just him specifically, since the guy he used to work with, they make very similar movies.
Right.
There would have been some slight differences, but I definitely think we would have. It's a high chance we would have still gotten to the same point.
Right.
I think. Because I don't think he was carrying it on his back and showing people all the stuff. But I mean, Spirited Away is regarded as one of the greatest animated movies of all time.
Yeah.
And it is fantastic. I don't think we would have gotten those, but I think we would have still gotten to the same place.
Right.
It just would have been something else would have been the best one.
I think it would have been different. And the reasoning behind is you see so many chain reactions of, I read this excellent book called Steal Like an Artist that talked about that all art to date is stolen in a sense, not that it's plagiarized, but that we take an influence and turn it into something.
Yeah.
Which without that influence, we would have not created what we created. So you think of, even not to say that he's the God, what's the name that Prometheus? He's not like the Prometheus of it all, but like, cause like it was Disney for him, like he saw Disney and was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
and that was his influence. So and then to say, okay, if there was no Walt Disney, would there have been a Miyazaki? So it's interesting because you're right. I think it's almost easier to consider that there are parallel like planes of universes to where it didn't exist, but it still was created, just maybe at a different point of time.
Yeah.
Or in a different way. Like you think of it's almost unexplainable. You think of like a monitor lizard and a tegu are almost biologically identical, but they're on different continents, and their path of adaptation was not influenced by one another, and they were in completely different circumstances, but they're basically the same thing. So I kind of think of that relates to like what you're saying, if like just because it wasn't him, there could have been something alike enough to kind of bring that on.
It just would have been a different person. The
Yeah.
animation could have been different, all of that, but like people would have just taken the next thing and used that as their standard.
Yeah.
And gone from there. It wouldn't be the exact same. It wouldn't be Ghibli. Spirited Away may not have gotten made, but there would be a Spirited Away equivalent in place of it, because if that wasn't there, what would people have said? This is the greatest animated movie of all time.
Right.
What would that have been? And people wouldn't have this other standard. So maybe it's better, maybe it's worse, but they don't have that to relate to. I don't know.
It's like some butterfly effect.
Yeah,
like
I don't
type
think
shit.
anything.
Yeah.
I don't think anything would have changed in the grand sense of like where we've gotten to. Your Name specifically in your example may not have gotten made as what it was, but there would have been a Your Name equivalent that came from the Spirited Away equivalent.
So you're saying by lack of example, like we could only conjure and imagine that because we'd experienced what we experienced, but without that experience,
there would have been something else, because it's I don't know, it would have. I don't think anything would have happened differently in the sense of like anime would have still been a thing, animated movies would have still been a thing. It's just if you removed Spirited Away and Miyazaki and Ghibli from existence, what would have won the Oscar for best animated movie?
Yeah.
What would have won that? Because animation would have still been picking up, something would have won, and that probably would have been held as the standard.
But what I think of that being the driving force of our time, if that were taken away, there is the possibility that nothing would have filled those shoes, and that perhaps animation wouldn't have been, it could have been a whole different medium.
Yeah.
That had popularized and become much, it could have been, everything could have been claymation right now. Like, who knows?
I definitely think that's just a low chance, though, because I don't think that, I think the next closest thing to Spirited Away and not Studio Ghibli would have been closely adjacent to that style, that it would have been the same thing that people were looking at. Unless for some reason, if you think about the world without Miyazaki and everybody just finds more of an interest in claymation, then it would move to claymation. But I don't think the removal of one person in the medium has any effect on the medium as a whole going forward.
I think, perhaps, it is more of a far cry to say that, it would have been there and not been there, but I think it would have been drastically different.
Yeah.
But not to anything we would ever recognize. Obviously, if that's, our reality, that's what we know.
Yeah.
And it could have been better. That's, it's not to say one thing's missing, everything's worse. Who knows? Maybe he ruined anime. Anime was a mistake,
Yeah.
But
I just think there's a lot more factors, because it could be different, but I think like it would be a small percentage based on the removal of one studio.
Yeah.
I think it would more so be about like the whole world would have to change at that point, which it could just from that one removal. But, life experiences of the people growing up and making those mediums and stuff would have to be different.
Right.
Because he took a lot of personal experience and put that in there, and there's a reason why people related to it and saw, his art. So there would be a lot of factors in producing such a change that it wouldn't be something slightly different. Like if we went to that parallel universe and we would walk by and be like, oh, the greatest animated movie ever made, Sold Up. Is that like Spirited Away?
Yeah.
It'd probably be, if you just took away that one thing, it'd probably be something very, very similar. But if it created a ripple effect of changing a bunch of other factors, then it could go a completely sideways direction.
That's where my curiosity peaks, because you look at an example of, there was a normie show on Netflix. I never finished it, but I saw the first couple episodes. It was called like Man in the High Tower. Are you familiar with that?
No.
So basically, the premise was, in this reality, America had lost World War II, and the continental U.S., North America, was split, where the West was owned by Japan and the East was owned by Germany, and it was a communist state. And they find this film of America winning the war, and these people that find it are trying to change that reality to find an outcome similar to one that had happened in a parallel universe.
Yeah.
But yeah, you think of how drastic the change would be. Like, obviously, that's something that's insurmountable, and that's a massive,
that's like global scale.
That's
change.
global scale, yeah. But I think, definitely an early adopter, it's kind of like, it's basically, you think of it as a lineage. If we call Miyazaki great-great-great-grandpa of anime, if you didn't have your great-great-great-grandpa and it was somebody else, you'd be an entirely different person.
Yeah.
Entirely. Genetically, in the place of the world you'd be, and there would be so much change just by that one figure missing in your lineage. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I think of it as being potentially comparable to.
Yeah. I get your point. I'm not trying to be too argumentative, but I'm taking it very literal. I do think genetics is a little more complex than marketing.
No, absolutely.
Because I think the thing, the big point here is that marketing wouldn't change because of that, And this is a pointless conversation because I'm literally just the literal sense of just the effect that it had in the medium and the industry of animation. I don't think, just that one removal, I don't think much would have happened. We wouldn't have had all those movies, and the movies would be different, but I think the style would have still gotten picked up because it would still be aesthetically pleasing to people. And the style was being done. It wasn't something that was just kept to him and him alone. It was It was animation. There was a couple other studios at the time, people he had worked with, who were doing the same thing. His just had the feeling to push it past. And if that was gone, it would have just been one of the other people.
Right. And no, by no way is this like an argument, the listeners out there, as much as like, if we thought the same exact thing, this would not be interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
Where this comes down to, it's purely just two different schools of thoughts. And these are all theories, because we will never know the outcome, because it just simply doesn't exist, So it's like, it's one of those where you just scratch your head and you're like, man, what could have happened? And that's what's so interesting about it, is because we really don't know. So we get to kind of speculate, like, what could have actually happened there,
Everything is a non-zero chance, but yeah, definitely in my brain, I am in the camp that I think the higher % chance was that if we went to that parallel universe, we would notice what was missing, but I think we would still find a lot of very similar things that had happened without it.
Right.
I think we would have still gotten to the same place. We wouldn't have that fire quote from Miyazaki saying anime was a mistake.
Right.
We wouldn't have that, but
this is what's so awesome about this kind of thing, is now I'm going to ask, the people out there listening, especially if you're on YouTube and have the ability to comment, let us know down below, like, what you think would have happened if some figure like this was taken out of history. Do you think, as Ryan said, it would kind of be something like there would be just this alternative, that there's someone there in likeness where it would be relatively the same? Do you think it would be completely different? Let us know, because it is certainly something fascinating to talk about.
Submit your A World Without Miyazaki fan fiction at 2dresearchclub@gmail.com.
I think that's actually our email. If we get an email, I'll be kind of stoked.
Yeah.
Like I'll check it, and like if there's an actual email, like that's definitely getting like submitted in the next video. We'll
I'll
read
read
some
it.
of those off.
I'll do a live reading.
Yeah, we'll do a live reading. If you guys actually want to shoot us that's a great idea. We will read them in the next video.
Just try to keep it under like 5 pages.
Yeah,
don't go all out. Don't write a novel.
Yeah, don't go Reddit on us. Go like Quora on us.
Don't go trying to change the medium of short stories and novellas.
Yeah, it's we can only handle so much, and we only have so many Chicos left. But
yeah,
kind of backtracking on our previous topic. Then and I knew from the get-go you would think Mushishi would be kind of a one that encompasses those. But do you find yourself like you could separate it to its small parts? Like you could listen to just the music?
Yeah, I listen to the Mushishi soundtrack all the time.
Yeah.
I love it. I put it on when I take a shower, and it's just so nice.
That's an awesome idea. So when you shower, you throw that on. Yeah.
I think the writing is conceptually something that would be interesting, properly described and stuff in words, just reading. I think it's great. It'll make you think.
Yeah.
Visually, I mean, I've talked about the animation before, and its style of slow and how it builds the tension and stuff is really interesting to me. And I mean, voice acting, fantastic. Everything about it, I just gets an A+ for me.
Yeah,
I could take every artistic group of Mushishi and experience it solo, like it just that on its own, and I think it would be just as good. Oh, maybe not just as good, but it would be good.
But yeah, it's something. So when it's all together, like your first time watching it, so now and this is hard to think because you've seen it, and of course you love it, but do you remember like the first time you watched it and how like it made you feel like experiencing everything put together?
Yeah, I watched all of it without getting up.
Because it's just that level of immersion when everything plays well together,
I was just enjoying it so much. I was like, dude, this is awesome. This is great. I loved the experience, the music, everything about it. I was just like, yep, I like this.
Yeah.
Because it was recommended to me, and I was like, thank you for recommending this. I feel like I needed this in my life.
And going even further back, but talking about what man, his name just slipped me. The Family Guy.
Seth MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane. So during that interview, he was talking about how kind of when he forayed into live acting for a film he had wrote and directed, that there are certain things in animation too you could only do in animation. And there's almost, not to say it's easier, but a lot of the pressure is off when it comes to like the voice acting, for example, is it's very, thought out, and it's not so much on the fly. I'm sure elements of it are, of course, but fitting everything together, you could get a lot done in animation that even with our current capability with giant budgets and CGI, we can only do so much. Where it comes down to an animation studio with a bunch of people working on it, it can convey a story in such a way that can't be done with live action, or at least not done easily. So, I think this kind of dispels the myth that, anime or animation as a whole is just something for, children, or, you'll grow out of it eventually. I think it's truly its own medium that, in all stages of life we could enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's similar to like, the modern day composer can sit alone in a room and make an entire orchestra of music. For a maestro, they need, all these people to show up and practice and do all these things. For a Broadway show, they need all those people to show up and practice and do those things, as well as a whole grip of actors and stage hands, and they need all these people to make this thing work. But a lot of the pressure is off when, if you fuck up a line voice acting, you're in a studio with a small team of people, just voice acting specifically. There's still a large team outside of that, but like instead of having the boom guy and the whole team on set to get this scene, you just have this small team working on this one aspect of it.
Right.
You can do things incrementally, and it lends you a lot of open space to try new things or make mistakes. And with, animation just inherently, there is more of that pressure lifted off of the fact that you don't have to sell the entire performance. You just have to do the voice, or you're just working on the animation. If a funny face happens in the animation, you can go back and correct that. Somebody doesn't have to sit there and keep the whole team there for 500 takes.
Yeah.
Because they can't get it how the director wants it, They can go back, and it can be a smaller team working on it at a separate time when another team is home or doing whatever,
And
being worked on simultaneously.
yeah, right. And to think that there's always a point of reference, because and there's a ton of manga artists out there that also write their own story, but oftentimes there'll be a light novel that's adapted into a manga. So somebody wrote that story. After the story is written, now the artist has a point of reference of they can imagine what that character looks like by reading the story.
Mm-hmm.
Now with that character in an artistic reference, a voice actor can imagine what they would sound like by looking at the face of the character, because I think it's a lot easier to have that visual reference than to be like, oh, imagine like a hero protagonist and make the voice. It could certainly be done, but to kind of get into the nuance and create this specific, memorable voice, you have to be able to, it's like the cheating, you get to look at it and be like, okay, yeah, this is definitely what they would sound like,
They
instead of just straw in a hat,
to go through the creative processes and like putting it out there and stuff in a way it's like you can release a light novel that's just the story, and then it picks up some traction, makes some money. Then you make a manga, and now you have like pictures, now you can experience the next part of the story or a different section of the story, and then you can go and animate it and continue it even more, instead of like picking something like, all right, let's make a movie. It's like they start with the script, or like the story,
pilot.
There's a term on like screenplay.
Oh, screenplay. Yeah.
You basically take the screenplay and sell it, and people like it, and then you release the visual novel or whatever, the comic book to it, and then you can make a show, and then you can make a movie, and you can stop this process at any point when it's not working anymore, or people don't like it or whatever. But I don't think a lot of places do that,
Yeah.
Like the new Avatar movie that's coming out, they're not going to release it as a book first.
No.
They're taking a gamble. They're spending all this money to make this big movie, and they're hoping it does well. Whereas something like animation, you can vet. You can put something out there and say, do people like this story? All right, let's continue.
Right. Because it's rare, for, writer directors like George Lucas and, solely a writer like Tolkien, but they create this expansive universe that other people could take bits of to make something out of, where, Tolkien dude wrote his own language for, the Elven language.
Well, that's what he did.
Yeah.
He was like a language expert.
Yeah. It's pretty obscene, where it was an actual usable, coherent language, not like, oh, make it sound like these words are Elvish and then put a subtitle,
He's actually made a couple languages.
Yeah. And he created an entire world geography. He created a hierarchy all the way up to the gods that had created that universe in their process. And you don't even see that in the movies,
What's his name? Arrow? I know the guy's name.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just like a being of light that created other beings of light, and then they sang a song, and that song that they sang became the Middle Earth, and the existence that we know in the Lord of the Rings. But
right.
Yeah.
But
people don't be doing that shit anymore.
Yeah. Not so much, but what I could really appreciate is when there's a writer or, a manga artist / writer that is actively involved in the animation process. Now, I don't know how that is for animators, if that's a pain in the ass or that's helpful, but
it's probably a pain.
Probably a pain in the ass, but to think that, in order to accurately depict this vision, they're there just to, part of it, be like, oh yeah, definitely do this. Kind of like how George R.R. Martin was a part of Game of Thrones being created of a book he wrote decades ago, but he's like, oh yeah, no, it should be kind of more like, this is what I had in mind. And then you could be like, okay, and like change it around a little bit,
Yeah.
duke it out at some meetings, like, no, it should be done this way. But just the fact that they're there and present means it can't be bastardized that much, like the original Full Metal Alchemist. You know?
Have you seen Game of Thrones?
Yeah. No, it was certainly bastardized to an extent, but I'm saying the directors worked with what they could. There's no way they could have. You saw how long those episodes were and how many seasons they were. They would have had to like double that shit for it to. And a lot of it too is kind of in the books. I mean,
they were definitely nearing the end. I would say like 4 to 6 more seasons, and they probably would have been just fine.
Yeah.
At most, like 4 to 6 seasons. There was just like that last season. It should have been a couple more. And I think it started downhill long before that. But they just gave up on it. They didn't want to work on it anymore.
The books are full of so many side stories. Like, what was her name? The mom.
What?
The redheaded mom.
Cersei or whatever?
No, the mom of like
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I don't know.
All my thoughts are, but yeah, pretty much like
her name.
She like
Jon Snow's mom.
Yeah, she was killed, at the party.
Yeah, the red wedding.
The red wedding, and in the books, she's revived as like a zombie with a slit throat, going on a conquest of revenge. And like that's a whole fat side story that was never a part of it. And like, yeah, there's so much they could have done, but I don't know. Maybe it was like a budget thing, or who knows? Or
they just
at a point they were just like,
they
"Fuck."
Just didn't want to work on it anymore.
It was 10 years.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, it's just I'm not saying do everything to a T, but for the story they told, it definitely just. As you watch Game of Thrones, it's like something super engaging and dialogue heavy and very political, and that's what you're watching it for. That's why people enjoyed it. And then the more you get through the show, the faster it starts to pick up, and you're like, wait, whoa.
Yeah.
You're not explaining things the way you've been explaining them since I started watching the show. Now you're kind of just expecting me to pick up on it and move along. And everything just happens so fast, and I don't know, the last season's just so fucking
Yeah,
no,
it was a major disappointment, and I've rewatched it 3 times through and through now. But like, I do like the little things you pick up, like after watching it once, you're like, oh, that makes sense now. That little. I will say the dialogue, nothing they said was unintentional. Like everything had a connection, and that was well done. But, yeah, you just even think of like the actors and actresses just aging. Like they have a window. Like they could do things with CGI and makeup, but like they have a window where like the story is taking place, but in order to film it and everything, they're getting a lot older than they should be.
They're still using the same actors for Kenobi that they were using in the episode 1, 2, and 3 for Star Wars.
But that's kind of like a Cobra Kai thing where it's like a story that takes place later on. No, it's not like close to that.
It's
time
10 years later, but I mean there's some serious time passage in Game of Thrones as well.
No, that's true. Yeah
I just don't think that's an argument for why they had to kill the show.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just spitballing at this point. Like I'm like, I don't know why.
Emilia Clarke, she looks great.
Oh yeah,
she could go another 20 years.
Age is like fine wine.
She could be fine.
Yeah.
Jon Snow looked fine. I don't think anybody really looked too old. Most of the old guys have been killed off.
Yeah, that's true.
Jaime Lannister was still looking good. Yeah, I don't know. I think they looked fine. And especially since people do get older. I mean, Star Wars Episode 1 came out a long time ago, and they're still using the same people.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Episode 3, when they give the babies to Leia to those people on Alderaan.
Yeah.
They used that guy. Leia's dad is the same guy from Episode 3.
And when did Pokemon
20 years
come
ago?
to the U.S.? Like 98? Look at Ash aged great. He barely looks any older, I don't know how they managed that one, but...
Yeah, it's crazy how he's still like 9 years old.
And can travel several continents,
I like in passing heard something that Ash's name isn't actually Ash. And it was just given that name when they brought it to the U.S. because it was like a name we would get.
Yeah.
You
That's
know anything
probably
about that?
that would
I
make
don't remember where I
sense
heard it.
because I remember specifically there was a part where they're eating a bowl of ramen and they're like, "Whoa, these mashed potatoes are great," in the dub.
No, yeah.
So the English audience would understand what they're eating. Like, I mean, Top Ramen was around. I don't know why they had to do that, but maybe they're like, restaurant ramen doesn't mashed potatoes. Now that makes sense, you know?
I just saw something that I guess Miyazaki. Did I tell you this?
No.
They wanted the Western adaptation, or not adaptation, but the Western movie for My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
They wanted to give him a more American name, so it was like My Neighbor Craig, My Neighbor Thomas Roro, or something like things like that. And Miyazaki was like, I ultimately declined because I thought about if my name were to be Craig, and I wouldn't want my name to be Craig. So he was like, no, it's Totoro.
Yeah, like they'll figure it out.
Yeah, but like they definitely tried changing a lot of shit like that.
Yeah.
So I can't remember where I heard that Ash's name wasn't actually Ash, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
The Ashen one.
The Ashen one. Lord of the Rotted Tower.
No, and, you know, it makes sense. They said, too, like, it's not like it's just like, oh, shit, we forgot to age him, as much as Pokemon will always remain for the audience that are the kids of the time.
Yeah.
You know? And he had to be relatable.
Could you imagine like a adult anime Pokemon?
Because, I mean, they did like Pokemon Origins where it was darker, but yeah, still, like, we would love to. This is where my wish came true when they did Digimon Tri, because they showed them in a time skip where they had aged and they're becoming adults, and it's a much more mature show. But they still, same characters, same Digimon, and I'm like, that's such a, if they did that with Pokemon, just even if they did like a 12 episode, like 30, 40-minute episodes, you know, season, where it's Ash as an adult, like, he accomplished everything he wanted to accomplish.
Show me a Pokemon world where Pikachu's dead, and Ash has to reconcile with that.
Right. His mom is dead. Pikachu is dead. Professor Oak is dead. Everyone's dead.
There was a big Gyarados just came over Pallet Town. Is he from? I don't know much about Pokemon.
Yeah.
Just fucking blasted it into nothingness.
Yeah.
Everybody died except for him and Pikachu, and then Pikachu just got old because he's like a rat. Started growing tumors on his hind legs. And
Nurse Joy's like, sorry, the treatment's not working. Dun, 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 dun. Usually it fixes everything. Why isn't this fixing anything?
Then he moves to, you know, the inner city that's bustling into new life. And he gets like heavy into drugs.
Or he just can't accept Pikachu's there, like, in rigor mortis, like, a week, like, his body's rotting. He's just sitting there spraying a hyper potion. Come on, Pikachu, come on.
He has, like, visions of Pikachu.
Yeah.
Constantly forgets that it's like Steins Gate Pokemon.
And then he goes into such a just chaotic downward spiral. Like, when Nurse Joy can't fix Pikachu, he kills her and hides the body. And then the very end of the series, he gets the electric chair. And he's picturing Pikachu there about to pull the lever. He's like, come on, Pikachu, give me one last Thunderbolt. It just pulls the lever. And he dies.
That's fucking perfect. We got to sell this idea and be like, I promise you people will love it.
Yeah, like Brock and Misty are married. They have kids. They're like, come on, Ash. Like, you can stay with us for a bit. Like, we want to help you. And he's like, no, I can do this on my own. I've always done this alone.
Ever since Pikachu, I've always been alone. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. Let's sell that idea to people.
And here's another irony. Brock can't get it up anymore, but he has all rock-type Pokemon, but he's the only one who can't use Harden.
Looks like Onyx is getting used again tonight. Geodude, come here.
Come here.
I need you to beat the shit out of my girlfriend's vagina.
Oh, my. Man, we should
we should get to the pairing.
We should take this episode off the air. So, yeah, we're going to do a pairing. You know, let me go. You're always getting it. Let me go grab it.
Okay.
Keep this rolling.
Hi guys, my name is Ryan. I work for Giuseppe on the 2D Research Club. He doesn't pay me anything. He only lets me out of the closet once a week when we record. And he's back. He's gonna murder me.
Talking.
He's gonna murder me. It's over for me.
God, this sword smells like crayons.
Crayons?
Yeah.
Did you rub like wax on it or something?
Hopefully this is...
I think it was.
Okay.
Let's get it back in there. Do a quick. You okay?
A little sweaty. Yeah.
Yeah, it's back.
Okay, sweet. So,
What do we got?
call it a pairing, if you will. Call it something just kind of reminiscent of the topic here. But we are going to be drinking.
Just throw that. Get it out of here.
I didn't want it on the set. So this is going to be Prairie Artisan Ale's Rainbow Sherbet, a sour ale with rainbow sherbet flavors. Now, I've tried this one. I don't know if Ryan's tried this yet. I love rainbow sherbet, dude.
I like the ice cream.
I love the ice cream at Thrifty's. That's like the most nostalgic thing for me.
So is it sherbet? How do you spell sorbet?
Sorbet.
Yeah. Okay, because I heard somebody say, this was when I was like a kid. I heard somebody say sherbet as sorbet, and I was like, oh, is that how you say it? I've been saying sherbet.
I always say sherbet. I still do to this day. I know it's
Yeah.
sherbet, but
Sherbet's just the funner one.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you want to go get some sherbet?
yeah, you want to get some sherbet?
You want to go get some sherbet, buddy?
But this tastes so spot on. Like, it's kind of a trip. I don't know how they nailed this flavor, but like, kudos, guys. This is like literally the ice cream.
It's the ice cream with alcohol in it. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
It tastes so good. This is like my favorite
That
thing.
is pretty good.
But the idea behind it was just rainbow sherbet, taking all these different qualities and melding them into this masterpiece of an ice cream. The same thing that we were talking about with animation being, a masterful take on artwork, just encompassing the music, the artwork, story, all that good stuff. And I saw this beer and I'm like, well, ain't that a thing? Anime.
The masterpiece of an ice cream. That's what I wanted to say. I just forgot the word masterpiece.
Yes.
Anime is a masterpiece of an ice cream. This is really good, though.
Yeah.
It's sour. It's not like too sour. It's just got a nice flavor.
It's not overly sweet. It's not overly sweet either. It's it's like a refreshing alcoholic, like if you melted sherbet but it wasn't like creamy, just kind of the flavor.
Brewed and canned by Krebs Brewing Company, McAllister, Oklahoma.
Those Okies sure know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's a 5.2%, so not going to get you too trashed. 12 fluid
God.
ounces here.
Oh God.
They have a lot of cool, you'll see the artwork in the thumbnail if you're on YouTube or might be on Spotify too actually. But I love the way they do cans because I haven't picked them up, but they have another one called Vape Tricks I've seen before. That's supposed to, I don't know what that even tastes like, but
Is it like Vape Tricks?
like with like a vape,
Yeah.
So I'll have to try that one next because it's like nice on a summer day. You didn't really have time to squeeze in a dessert, so you combined it with your beer, and here we are.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like this.
I was like on the fence. I thought it was a 50-50, like a love or hate for you. Like you might like it or not like it,
I might not be able to drink a lot of them, but it definitely tastes good. It's not like overly sour to where it's like hurting my fucking lymph nodes or whatever.
Yeah.
But it tastes good. I definitely taste the sherbet.
Yeah.
I just feel stupid now saying sherbet.
sherbet is the way to go. Sherbet. You know, to me, it was always kind of that in between, like ice cream and sorbet. Like it was fruity, but it still had the milk in there.
Yeah.
The creaminess, you know.
I used to really like gumball ice cream.
Ooh.
I was a fucking idiot. It's just so inconvenient to eat.
But I liked the ones from the ice cream trucks, like where it was like SpongeBob or Sonic, but they just looked so malformed and ridiculous, and their eyes were displaced. But man, those tasted good.
I liked going to Water and Ice.
What's Water and Ice?
So water and ice store that sells ice cream.
Oh.
You can it was where you used to be able to, now they have them at like gas stations and stuff, but you used to be able to fill up like your 5-gallon jugs of water. You could like buy ice blocks and stuff like that. When we would like put the pool up in the backyard, like the collapsible one.
Right.
Go buy cubes of ice to throw in there because it's too hot.
Yeah.
The water comes out of the hose hot. You know, you're trying to cool down.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
So you'd like throw a bunch of blocks of ice in there and then pretty much just go in there and stand right on top of one and like, nice.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
We should do that when we get a house. Just put out a little, you know, right in the front where everyone could see. Just get some Keystone lights and.
Yeah. We'll just get a collapsible hot tub and we'll do a hot tub stream.
Just wave at the HOAs. They pass by with their writing their
2D
notes.
Research Club, 200 subscriber special. Hot tub stream.
Hot tub stream.
I said it. It's on here. We got to do it.
It's official. So 200 subs. Get us up there because...
Got a long way to go. You're going to have to work harder than that.
You know, and if you do it soon, it's at our displeasure because it's really hot right now.
I'll even do you one better. Hot tub stream in anime cosplay.
We could do that.
All right, I'm dressing up as a girl.
We could do that. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. Had a lot of fun doing this. As always, super appreciative. Like, share, subscribe. Click that little notification bell to know that we're up to no good and we got some hooligan shit to put out there. So
I think our camera just died.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Can you put in the JoJo sound here? Where it's like the time skip.
I'll try to.
Okay.
I'll look up JoJo time skip and I'll put it right there.
Awesome. All right.
All right, bye.
Bye. Peace.